Welcome, beautiful soul, to this new episode. As always, I invite you to bring your journal, uh, make yourself really comfortable, and we're going to dive into some hard truths, uh, especially if you're right at the beginning of your journey, starting a health business, or even if it's just an idea in your mind. I feel like these are the things I wish I knew right from the beginning. I think awareness is always power. And even though a lot of these things that I'm going to mention today will take time, they're a process, it's not going to happen overnight. Still, I think it's amazing to have that acknowledgement right from the beginning. Actually, what I do now is I write this as part of my journaling. So, as one of the main pages in my journal, I have this written down, these 5 important points. And it's something that I always go back to. I always refer back to them, especially when things come up and I need to maybe just dive in deeper or do some more inner work related to these topics. So, I invite you to see what comes up for you and to see where you are on your journey or how it fits in with you and how you're feeling about it, because we're all unique. We're all in different stages. Even if we're right at the beginning of starting our business, we all have our own background, our own foundations, and maybe you've already started working on some of these. So check in with yourself as we go through them. So these are the main 5 points I'm going to say. And the title of this episode is Don't Bother Starting Your Health Business If dot dot dot. And I think this will apply to any business, to be honest, because no matter what you're starting, these things will eventually come up in some form or another. And the first one is something that I think holds back a lot of people. So if you are waiting for the perfect time, if you're waiting for that perfect time to even begin your journey or to even take that first step. And I think for many of us, including myself, I can think back in the past where I've just sat around waiting, or I carried on doing what I didn't like in order to have this perfect moment to start something different. And it holds us back and it takes time, and actually it wastes a lot of our time, because one thing I also realized while working on myself and also working with clients is that usually that perfect time is the worst time. In other words, we're literally pushed out of a situation or in a certain way in order to begin something. For example, a lot of the people that I've worked with in the past maybe had to go through a health issue or burnout, or they lost a job. And these very unfortunate situations that made them realize that, yes, there is no perfect time. And we don't have to wait for that situation to come up. It's something that if we already work with ourselves and get rid of the idea of perfection, this illusionary perfect moment. Anything that's perfect is an illusion anyway. If we sit around waiting for that, we're going to wait a long time, or we're just going to find excuses to carry on doing something else and to never begin. And I find that it's usually the first step that's the most scariest. And in our mind, we can make up a lot of different excuses about why we shouldn't start. Oh, it's not the perfect time. I have to do this first. This is coming up. Well, if you never start, there will be no perfect time, basically. The moment you decide to start is the perfect time. And yeah, that's something that I was a big reality moment for me, not just in business, but I think in general. Just waiting around for this illusion to come, or the perfect sign to come. It just never happened. And I wish maybe I'd known this sooner. Then I could have started a lot of things sooner, to be honest. And I know this is true for a lot of people I've worked with and a lot of people on a personal level who've shared that with me. So I want to ask you, and you can write this down in your journal if you have it right now. What for you, or what connection, and when I say this, what connection do you make about waiting for this perfect time? Is it something you've experienced? Is it something you're going through right now where you're thinking about doing something but you're waiting for this moment? Or is it something that you don't believe in? That basically you already have a full understanding that there is no perfect time. Where are you on that journey with this idea of perfection in general? Not just the timing, but just in general. Um, and be really gentle with yourself, to be honest. There's no rights or wrongs. It's just we all go through different things in our life, and this is one of those things that um, we can work on within ourselves and remind ourselves as we go along. And I always have to remind myself because I know definitely from personal experience, perfectionism in general was something that held me back in so many different ways. So feel free to pause this right now if you need to. Take a moment to acknowledge what's coming up within. Also listen to your body when I say that. We're waiting for the perfect time. What comes up in your body, not just in your thoughts. And write it down. See what comes up. The second point is if you are not open to learning constantly, taking it as a learning journey, then starting a business is probably not a good idea. I mean, even right from the beginning, if you are thinking of having a health business, most people go through some sort of training. So that's a form of learning. So, learning from the beginning as part of your training is is a good thing, but people often forget that even after their training, they still have to learn. Having a business is a whole learning process. We go through highs and lows. We have to learn different skills. Um, we have to develop different things because things are moving so fast. So it's never going to end. We're always going to have to learn something, whether it's something practical for our business or something within ourselves, something that we need to work on within ourselves. Um, so if you're not open to learning and you're not open to starting this journey, then I think having a business is probably not a good idea. And my naive side of myself, right at the very beginning, was like that. 20 years ago, I started as a complementary therapist. And I thought, okay, after doing my training, everything's just going to start. Like, I'm just going to get clients and things are going to come up. And I don't really need to learn anything else. Huge mistake, huge mistake. That mindset had to shift very quickly in order for me to start learning new things, in order to launch my business, in order to gain my clients, but also to learn about myself. So be really open to learning. And again, I invite you to write in your journal, where are you on that journey? Does learning inspire you? Is it something that you're open to doing? And what are you interested in learning? Maybe there's a side of having a health business that really inspires you, or if you read about, or maybe you watched it on YouTube and you're thinking, oh, I really like the idea of learning about this area or that area. It could be something about your business directly, but it can also be something about you on a personal level. So, where are you on that path when it comes to learning? And are you open? If you're really brutally honest with yourself, are you open to learning new things and taking your mind shift to expanding, constantly expanding? Because I think in order to have a thriving business, we always have to be in a state of being open to learn through our own mistakes, our own good times, learning through our clients, learning through our training, learning through the marketing that we have to do, learning through the technology skills that we have to learn. Dot, dot, dot. We can go on about the different areas to learn. And I think on a personal level, it is a beautiful thing. That's one thing I love about having my own business is that there's always something to learn and it never gets boring. So that's number two, a very big point about having your own business. Don't bother starting a business if you are not open to learning. consistently learning and upgrading and exploring different areas within yourself and within your business. The third one is more on a personal level. Okay, this is returning back to more on a personal level. If you're not going to address your limiting belief systems, this is a big one. This is a huge one because having your own business is very different from working for someone else. Think about the jobs that you've had in the past, and maybe you're thinking about starting a business now, a health business. Uh, it's a very different mindset. It's an absolutely big shift that I think a lot of people experience in the beginning, and then they realize very quickly they have to change it because there are many different limiting belief systems that we might have that are holding us back. Feelings like maybe not being worthy enough, or not having enough skills, or we can go, I mean, there's so many. There's so many. I can list my own personal ones. Like, for example, the limiting belief systems of visibility, being seen on social media, creating content and being seen. That was a big limiting belief for me because, well, for me personally, it was about perfectionism as well and the need to release it. So, limiting beliefs is something that we're probably going to all have to address at some point when we have our own business, because they might be actually holding us back from doing the things, taking the actions, working on ourselves in order to make more space and room to thrive as a business, a sustainable business. And I want to say, actually, one of the biggest limiting beliefs is about money. One of the biggest, or related to money, because when you're running a business, yes, you have to, it's not a hobby. We're here to make money from what we love to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think a lot of us, in some way, not all of us, have had limiting belief systems about how we gain money, or what it takes to make money, or what it takes to receive money, if we're even open to receiving. Especially in the health and wellness field, there's a lot of people that will still say that money is always the root of evil or problems, or you shouldn't be charging so much because you are a therapist, or you're a healer, or you're a yoga teacher. Really, your focus shouldn't be about money. There's a lot of limiting beliefs around that. And if you want a thriving business with really going deep into that idea of money and what it means to you, and shifting some of those belief systems makes a huge, huge difference. And remember, money is a form of energy exchange. Anyway, I don't want to go too deep on just one of those limiting beliefs, but I'm just giving an example of something that comes up a lot for many people about limiting beliefs. So I wanted to ask you, and again, I invite you to write this down in your journal. What limiting beliefs do you have? Or maybe some limiting beliefs that are stopping you from starting your business, or some limiting belief systems that you've learned over time and you're now starting to confront within yourself. This is a beautiful personal thing that I actively try and address in my own life. Again, not just with business, but also within myself. Like, what's really holding me back? What programming have I had from previous jobs, or from my family, or from my culture, or society that has told me that this is the way it should be, but actually I need to find a different alternative way for myself, or I need to redefine it, or I need to release it altogether. Um, I love looking at limiting beliefs and being open to it in the very beginning, especially when you're starting your health business or any business, makes you realize that actually business teaches you a lot about yourself on a personal level. Number 4, Don't bother starting your health business if you don't have a financial plan in place right at the beginning. Another big one, yes, very much practical and based on money. Why do I say that? Okay, the majority of people I meet, including myself, have wanted to start a business because we hated our jobs. Let's be real. A lot of people think that, okay, I need to find something that I can do because I probably can't stand the idea of being in my job any longer. But the truth is, it's very hard. It's very hard to build a business when you are struggling financially. And if you don't have a plan in place, then it really makes things very complicated when it doesn't have to be. So I encourage people to have that plan in place. And I had someone told me right from the beginning, the first therapy room that I rented out, the lady told me, the lady who was running the therapy space told me, have a plan for 2 years. 2 years. For me back then, I was thinking, oh my goodness, 2 years. That's a long time. That's nothing, really, when it comes to having a business. Hopefully, your business will grow after 2 years. But I think what she meant is a lot of people have the first starter phases of building their business and foundations. That usually happens within the first 2 years. And I say that because that's very real. It's not a matter of being successful overnight. Building a sustainable business that's going to be around for years to come takes strong foundations. And one of those foundations is, yes, having a financial plan so you don't have to worry about the practical side of putting food on your table, of having a roof over your head, or maybe if you have family, how you're going to provide for them. Uh, yes, there are many examples, and I've seen this as well, where people have lost their job and they started doing their business. But to be real with you, a lot of them had other forms of support. So there's no shame and there's nothing wrong with having a plan in place, knowing that you're still maybe having to work a part-time job or continue working your full-time job in the beginning. And that's something I wish someone told me at the very beginning as well, that it's okay. It's actually okay. And a lot of people do this, especially with health business. They start off by doing it on the side along with some sort of work. If they don't have support, if they don't have a big savings account, um, or something that's supporting them financially, then having that job in place will allow you to still meet your basic important needs. Because having a business and worrying about that is one of those things that unfortunately I think a lot of people end up failing in. They end up failing their business or quitting their business altogether during those first 2 years because of that. So think about a plan. And I'll give you some very honest examples that I've seen from working with different professionals, different business owners uh, in the health and wellness field. My background is my main practice is in central London, UK. And that's where I moved my practice in 2009. So this was during the financial crisis all over the world. And that included London. And especially in that part of town, people work in finance. So when I was meeting people and renting therapy rooms and seeing clients, I would bump into other therapists as well. We would talk, and I realized a lot of them were still doing their office job. And I asked one of the ladies that I was working with at the time, and I was thinking about going full time because I also had a part time job and I was juggling university as well. So I was doing a lot of things and I really just wanted to go full time. And I wanted to quit my job because I couldn't stand it any longer. I was working an office job as well. And the person said to me, which made complete sense, most of the people she works with were also working during the same time as her. In other words, she could afford to build her business on the side because the clients she had were free on the weekends and after office hours, which meant that she could continue working her full time office job, building her business, and still having clients on the side when they have time out. And this makes perfect sense. The majority of people who might be your clients will probably be working during the day or well, it depends on your clients, to be honest. It depends on your niche or the people that you attract in your business, the people you choose to work with. But the majority of people I found, obviously, maybe they already have their workload or their work life, and that's how they're able to also afford to pay you. So most of those people will be working the same time as your 9 to 5 job. And when she said that to me, it was like a light bulb moment, and I realized a lot of people were doing exactly the same thing at the beginning. In the beginning, in order to support themselves financially, their plan was to either have that full time job going or to find something that was part time, and then slowly build until they reach a point where they can do it full time. It's a lot of work. I won't lie. I think it is a lot of work. And I've been through that. I've been through how tiring it can be, but it made complete sense for me at that time because when I was doing my studying during the day and my part time job during the day, my clients were working during that time as well. So I could see my clients during the weekends or I could do my therapy sessions afterwards. And slowly I realized when I did go full time that those were the times that I could see my one-to-one clients face to face. It was in the therapy hours after their job and during the weekends or in the holiday time. And those are my busiest times. Even to this day, is still one of my busiest times when they're not working. In other words, when they're out of their own 9 to 5, that's when I get very busy. Holiday times, I get busy. Weekends, I get busy, and I love it. It depends on your business model, of course. Not all health businesses work with clients face to face, especially if we go into the realms of passive income and building online digital products, etc. Yes, there are many ways you can make money on the side doing that and not have to be present. But coming back to this point, I kind of went on a big circle there. Coming back to this point, please do have a financial plan in place. And it's okay to continue working your 9 to 5 or finding another job that supports you in some way if you don't have another form of support. Um, that's very important. And the first 2 years are going to be very crucial because it's about building foundations. So take a moment to think about where you are financially in your life. If you had to make a plan for the first 2 years, what would it be? On a very practical level, how would you be able to support yourself? What support would you have? Maybe it won't be your work. Maybe you have a partner who is happy to support you during that time, which is a case for a lot of people as well, but not for everybody. Maybe there's another form of support coming in. So think about support, financial support specifically, that you can have in place from the beginning and work around it. Work around it, slowly grow your business, make it a sustainable growth effort, not something that happens overnight without strong foundations. The last point is don't bother starting your health business if you have fear of failure. Part of limiting beliefs is fear of failure, but I think this deserves its own point because we're going to lose sometimes. We're going to fail sometimes. That's hard to hear, especially if you think everything's going to run smoothly. when we're learning how to build a business, and some of the most successful people in general in the business world, they've had to go through things in the beginning while they put things in place in order to learn about what works for their business, what doesn't work for their business. Even if you're doing launches for products, digital products, or group programs. I'm thinking specifically for health coaches, but not necessarily only for coaches. It could be in many different ways where you have to do a launch. Maybe the first few times you'll think that you'll get loads of clients and maybe just one shows up. But that is a big thing to just consider that might happen. And actually, what matters most is after the failure, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to learn about it? In the beginning, you might not have that many clients. Maybe no one will show up to your first launch. Maybe no one will see your YouTube videos in the first couple of episodes. Is that a failure? No, it's not a failure. It's building your foundations. Actually, you can use that time when you don't have many clients to really learn to build your confidence, to share your knowledge, to build your content. Because in future, when people look back at the amount of content that you've had, especially in the beginning, they will probably be able to see that journey, that side of you where you grew, where you expanded, where you went through your own process. On a personal level, I find that really helpful as well to look at back at some of the things that I did in the very, very early days and think to myself, oh, wow, thank goodness I changed this. Or thank goodness this didn't work out because it was never going to work out. And then I changed the strategy, etc., etc. So it's actually something that will teach us a lot of things and will be part of our foundations. Especially in the first, as I say, the first 2 years, I use it just as a marker point. Obviously, 2 years, it could be before or after, but I think during that time, having a plan in place and being open to the fact that yes, things will come up where you might feel like a failure, but it's an opportunity. It is actually an opportunity to change things, to experiment, to have fun experimenting. One of the things when you let go of the fear of failure, you actually have more fun experimenting because you don't have anything to lose. You don't have that fear of losing or failing in any way. You can actually just go for it and see what works. So, bringing in more joy, more fun, more opportunities to try things that are completely out of our comfort zone because we're okay that if it doesn't work out, we're going to learn from it. Something's going to come out of it. We're going to learn what works for us. We're going to learn what works for our business, for our clients, and we're going to improve and we're going to build our experience. It's like learning a new language. If you're learning a new language, yes, you can be in the class and you can um, be the top in your class for learning Spanish, for example. But then when you go out on the streets and you're mingling with Spanish speakers, native Spanish speakers, and you're realizing that, oh, wow, I don't understand anything, but I still have to talk. Then yes, you're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes when you're speaking to people, but soon you just realize, you know what, I just have to go for it. And yes, I'm going to fail at the way I say certain words or pronouncing these words, or maybe I'll get stuck on explaining this or that, but it's okay. And then you improve, and then you learn that language slowly, slowly. And I use this example because I've seen this in my own life. People who are amazing at learning a skill in the classroom setting, but then on a practical level, which is business, let's face it, in this situation, it will be having a health business. Yes, you can do all the courses you like on business, but then going out there and doing it is like learning a new language. Sometimes it's going to be very awkward, and we just have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. and getting out of our comfort zone, getting out of our own way, and seeing it as an opportunity to build those foundations. So don't bother starting a business if you're scared to fail. So I hope this has given you some inspiration. And again, I invite you to see what feels right for you and to journal about it and to be honest about where you are on your journey so that you can take those steps to the beautiful path of building your health business. Have a beautiful day. Take care.